Microsoft's junior current-gen console, the svelte Series S, does tend to struggle with some of the more boundary-pushing pieces of current-gen software. So how does it cope with Alan Wake 2? Alan Wake 2 runs with a 30 FPS target on Series S, with no option to engage a higher framerate mode. This is pretty common in Series S games, where high framerate options often impose an image quality penalty that is simply too large, at least when it comes to particularly demanding titles. Beyond that concession though, the Series S acquits itself decently well, as the visual settings are very similar to the Series X performance mode. Object density is about the same, with an identical rendition of the grass in this shot. Shadow quality is identical. Again, look at the matching sawtooth edges on the wood pole, the similar aliasing pattern from the foliage on the white van, or the missing NPC and flag shadows in both shots here. Volumetric lights also appear to have the same rather limited resolution on both systems. Textures do throw up a bit of a difference. Most textures seem to be a complete match between the two machines here. These signs are a good example. But in the Mind place, the caseboard textures clearly have a much lower resolution on Series S. The text in particular looks pretty messy on the S, although the accompanying photographs also look less distinct. Screen space reflections are also degraded a bit on the S. The static grain pattern seems slightly more prominent, and detail is muddier in the reflected image. I don't think that stems from a visual settings downgrade though. It's more likely to be a byproduct of the game's lower rendering resolution. Internally, the Series S is operating at or around 720p. That's down from the 847p resolution in the Series X performance mode. Output resolution though remains at 1440p, as the two consoles exhibit very similar clarity in stills, and the rare snippet of UI that isn't anti-aliased comes in at a 1440p pixel count. When moving through the game world, it's easier to spot aliasing on the Series S version. Neither console is really covering itself in glory here, but I'd prefer the Series X image overall. Performance-wise, the Series S manages a pretty stable 30 FPS, with an update that is a bit more consistent than PS5, but falls slightly short of its more powerful sibling. There are some occasional moments in tougher areas like this wooded section where it can drop frames, though it tends to be well behaved elsewhere. For a cut-price console, I think the Series S is delivering a perfectly fine update here, and the excellent motion blur and slower paced gameplay render the lack of a 60 FPS option less of an issue than it would be in many other titles.